What's going on, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the MFFL Nation Podcast. I'm your host, Mason, aka MFFL Nation. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today, we will be recapping the Dallas Mavericks season home opener against the San Antonio Spurs. The Dallas Mavericks took down the Spurs by a score of 120 to 109. A very, very fun, eventful game, to say the least. Klay Thompson's regular season debut with the Mavericks, Klay Thompson's first time playing with Luka Dončić and Kyrie Irving on the floor at the same time, Dereck Lively standing out. Everything about the season opener was amazing. Let's jump into it, guys. Some unexpected news for some Mavs fans when it was announced that Daniel Gafford would be the starting center for the Dallas Mavericks over Dereck Lively. Personally, I don't think this is something that Mavs fans should be overthinking based off of the success that we had last year when Daniel Gafford was in the starting lineup and Dereck Lively was coming off the bench. It worked out great. I don't think Lively really minds as of right now coming off the bench, considering the fact he got more minutes than Gafford last night. He was on the floor with all the main contributors. He's doing the same thing he would be doing if he's starting, but he's able to finish the half sometimes. He's going to be able to finish the game sometimes. So I don't think Mavs fans should be overthinking this whatsoever. Going into the game, every single fan was thinking about how Klay Thompson would perform. And for people who were tuned in and for people who weren't, everyone should know by now, he shocked the world. Not myself, not a lot of Mavs fans, though. It was quite obvious that we thought he would thrive with Luka, and it was shown. Klay Thompson, season debut, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 6 for 10 from 3, 7 for 13 from the field. It was nothing short but pure excitement. Seeing the way that Klay was able to defend at an elite level, which he spoke about a few weeks ago, wanting to prove to everyone that he could still do that. He did it last night. We saw the clear and obvious chemistry from him and Luka Dončić. Luka hitting the turnaround before Klay shots were even going through the net was awesome to see. And, to see this in the home opener means something. For Luka Dončić, someone who didn't get to play in preseason, someone who played a little bit in the first day of training camp, had a lot of time off, and for him to already develop this chemistry with Klay Thompson, it's unreal, man. And it wasn't just Klay. There was chemistry between Klay and Kyrie. We saw it between Lively and Klay. So that's just something really exciting. Luka was able to get him open looks, and that's something that we've been talking about this whole offseason and why the fit is so great. When you have guys like Luka Dončić and Kyrie Irving who track so much on-ball defense, there are going to be open guys on the floor. And that's what we saw last night. Teams were looking to double or stunt at Luka, and Klay Thompson was open. It didn't matter if it was in the corner. It didn't matter if it was at the top of the key. And the beauty of playing with Klay Thompson is that, yes, you want to throw great passes to him. You want to be accurate. But when you have that high caliber of a shooter, it doesn't really affect him that much. And we saw it multiple times. There was a play where Luka missed a layup and Klay got the tip out on the left wing corner spot, and it was an automatic 3. I really think what was huge for Klay was seeing that first mid-range shot go down at the beginning of the game. Yes, did it go in and out and fall in? Yes, but that's what got him into a rhythm. We saw him hit that 3 shortly afterwards, and from there, it was Klay's night. He stole the night away. To be honest, one of our better players in the first half as well. When we look at Luka and Kyrie in the first half last night, they struggled from the floor. And that happens. I believe Luka was 4 for 14 in the first half, 0 for 5 from 3 in the first half from 3. So when you bring in a player like Klay Thompson, someone who can pick up the morale for the whole team and help them when there are guys struggling, and that's the beauty of the depth that we have, there's going to be a lot of success. You look how Kyrie even played in the second half. I thought he did a very good job in the second quarter and third quarter. Didn't really see a lot of him in the fourth quarter. Didn't even play 30 minutes last night, which I think is huge for when you're going into a tough matchup in Phoenix on Saturday against the Suns, which we'll jump into the show later. But to see Kyrie sort of get in the flow, we saw him hit some tough threes, some tough mid-ranges. So seeing him back in the flow, seeing him back on the floor with Luka, and seeing what he can also do with Klay at the same time was really exciting to see. As far as it came for Luka, still was able to get a double-double, 28 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Didn't shoot particularly well from the field, but really what I thought stood out, not from just Luka, but from Klay as well, these guys are really dedicated on the defensive end of the floor. Everyone wants to win. PJ Washington spoke about it as well. Everyone knows that we can get back there now. We know that losing in the finals wasn't our ceiling. We can win the finals. And to see the first step in that being guys taking more of an effort on the defensive end of the floor, I thought we did a phenomenal job. We saw times where Klay was guarding Wemby. We saw times where Luka was putting his head under the basket, contesting shots, and Wemby missed an open shot, not open shot in the paint. It was contested shot in the paint, but he missed a shot in the paint on 6'8", Luka Dončić. And Luka, man, he was in the passing lanes. He was getting I was so excited, man. I'm at a loss for words, really, and how impressed I was with Luka Dončić last night. Minimal complaining. We even saw Slightly Biased speak about it. He said, even at timeouts, he wasn't going to the refs complaining. He was having a pleasant conversation with the refs, speaking about the officiating. And that's a step in the right direction. So really cool to see that from Luka. At the end of the day, when he's not shooting the ball well, he's still controlling the offense. He's still facilitating the ball perfectly. Saw great chemistry with Klay. We saw him with Kai again. And let's be sure to talk about the pass that blew up on social media last night. The behind the head pass, literally like this, a contested behind the head pass to PJ Washington in the corner/wing area, and he sinks it. And we need to talk about the fact that PJ Washington hits on these Luka Dončić crazy passes. Because in the past, we've had players that sell on every insane Luka pass, and I say that PJ has a pretty good track record of making those shots when it's a crazy pass. So that was really cool to see. And looking at it, man, another hot topic, Dereck Lively. Finished the night with a double-double, shot 6 for 8 from the field, 11 rebounds, I believe, 15 points. Decent from the free throw line, a step in the right direction. I believe he was 3 for 5 from the free throw line. Didn't see a 3-point attempt, but when you look at Dereck Lively, you look at how much time he spent in the offseason with Tyson Chandler, with Sean Sweeney, really focusing on dominating the paint. And I believe he showed that tonight. There was times where he was getting out on the fast break. I even saw a possession where he back-tapped Chris Paul and got the steal running back on defense. And that's a 7'1", not even 21-year-old center doing this. We saw him on the fast break with Jaden Hardy get the and-one foul with the slam. We saw him drop phenomenal pass on the elbow. I believe it might have been Hardy. I don't recall, but at the elbow drops that pass. And just seeing the offensive ability that Lively has at such a young age is so intriguing to see as a Mavs fan, because you look at this and you're like, okay, this guy doesn't have to play with Luka Dončić to thrive. It doesn't have to be constant lobs. It can be him facilitating the ball directly. We see the chemistry he has with Jaden Hardy. Once he develops that shot more, he can play with any guard on the Mavericks roster. So that was really cool to see from Lively. I thought defensively, there was multiple possessions where he did a phenomenal job guarding Victor Wembanyama. We saw it on the left side of the wing where Wemby tried to get the ISO and Lively forced to travel. Wemby hit a few tough shots over Lively and the Mavericks team, but I thought for the most part, Lively and Klay, Luka, everyone, and PJ actually started off the game guarding Wembanyama, did a phenomenal job of guarding him. I thought we really stopped him on all 3 levels of the offensive side of the floor. Was really impressed with that. And then looking at Jaden Hardy, man, you go into the season, there's the debate of if Jaden Hardy or Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be getting those backup guard minutes with Dante Exum being out. And man, Jaden Hardy the year 3 leap is here. There was times where Mavs fans were discussing, should we put him on the trade block already? He only does well when Luka and Kyrie are out. He forces too many shots. He doesn't facilitate the right way. He doesn't play defense the right way. And he proved everyone wrong last night. Jaden Hardy was phenomenal. On the offensive side of the floor, knocked down 3 threes, a phenomenal pass to Dereck Lively in the paint for the dunk. Or actually, it was a left-handed layup, excuse me. But everything about Jaden Hardy last night was amazing. We're seeing a really huge step in the right direction when it comes to controlling his pace, knowing when to pass, knowing when to shoot, and also being able to contribute on the defensive end of the floor is what's going to get him minutes come playoff time. Because when Dante Exum returns, Dante's minutes aren't promised to him. If Jaden Hardy's performing at this high of a level, Jaden Hardy's going to be competing not with Spencer Dinwiddie for minutes, but with Dante Exum and Quentin Grimes. And that's something we need to get into as well. Quentin Grimes sort of shocked me. First player off the bench. And the reason why, it's no disrespect to Grimes. I love Grimes. I've been high on Grimes the whole offseason. But you look at the depth of the Dallas Mavericks roster and look at some of the returning players. It wasn't my first guess for Quentin Grimes to come off the bench. You got Dereck Lively coming off the bench. Jaden Hardy, Najee Marshall, and even Maxi Kleber. And to see Quentin come off the bench, it wasn't the performance that the Mavs were hoping for, especially the fans. But I thought there were some positive notes from it. I thought he did a stellar job on the defensive end of the floor. Offensively, I just don't think the shot was falling down. I'd like to see him on the floor more with Luka. With the way he plays and the way that Luka plays as well, he's sort of the kind of player that you want to have on the floor when Luka Dončić is in, just because of the fact that he's a high-volume three-point shooter. And you look at the same side of the story as well. When Kyrie Irving's on the floor, Quentin Grimes is a very athletic, fast-paced player. So I think also just first real game inside of the AAC for some of these guys, the nerves. Grimes just came from Detroit. It's not the same. It's a different level of basketball here. So I think Grimes will adjust perfectly fine. Some guys need a game to get into rhythm. Some guys need 5. Some guys need 10. Some guys need till the All-Star break to start performing on a consistent rate. So not too worried about the Grimes performance, but we do go into Najee as well, who finished the game 1 for 6 from the field. I think also at the same time, good defense, wasn't able to hit some of his three-point shots, wasn't able to really show his offensive game too much last night. And I think that's something that's just going to not be that big of a problem. I think Najee will be fine. I think when you look at what we have with the Mavericks depth, if PJ's not performing well, then you can rely on Najee. If Najee isn't, then you can rely on Maxi. And there's going to be nights where all three of them are playing great. This isn't something that where in the past where you look at the team and, it's Grant Williams and Grant Williams plays bad and we lose the game, Mavs fans are freaking out. If Najee plays bad, we still have PJ, we still have Maxi Kleber. There's so many routes with this Mavs team. And lastly, when speaking about the game, it was sort of shocking that we didn't see any Spencer Dinwiddie. I thought he'd get a little playing time. We saw Spencer at the end of the game, but legit minutes-wise, no. We didn't see Spencer Dinwiddie at all. And I think he's honestly fine with that. I wouldn't say he's satisfied, but I think he understands where the Mavs coaching staff is coming from. He is a veteran on this team now. And for Hardy to have someone like Dinwiddie in his ear, we saw it on the baseline as well on the Mavs bench. I think that's going to be really beneficial for Hardy. Someone like Dinwiddie who had a very great year with the Dallas Mavericks in their 2022-23 playoff run. That's someone that Hardy can lean on, learn a few things from. So that's going to be really cool to see. And Maxi Kleber. Maxi didn't get too much playing time last night. We saw him hit a nice 3. Saw him get an insane block. He jumped out of nowhere, which was really cool to see. I wouldn't say I've been the most positive person when it comes to Maxi Kleber in the last year or so. I do think that in the next year, we could see Olivier Maxence Prosper taking some of his playing time. But I was impressed with Maxi last night. It didn't look like he was just coming off an injury whatsoever. It looked like he was in shape. He was running the floor. Defensively, he was doing Maxi things. So really excited to see what we can get from Maxi this year. That's someone that when the Mavs are resting a few guys or there's a few injuries, that's a good rotation player that you can add in to the depth chart. So that's very nice to see. And then shout out to Jason Kidd and the Dallas Mavericks coaching staff. One of my biggest questions coming into the season was, it's a beautiful thing that this Mavericks team is so deep, but in order to have a great team, you need to have an even greater coaching staff. What do I mean by that? I mean by the fact that coaches have a very tough time making decisions regarding the rotation, when players should check in, who should check in for who, how many minutes should they be on the floor with this player and that player. And I thought Jason Kidd killed it. Shout out to Sweeney, Dudley as well, everyone on the Mav staff. I thought everyone did a great job with that. I thought the minutes were handed out phenomenally last night. You look at it right now, PJ with 26 minutes, Gaff with 19, Kyrie with 27. Like I said, Kyrie didn't really play that much in the fourth. I don't even know if he checked in the fourth. Luka Dončić with 36 minutes, Klay with 26, Najee 21, Lively 28, Hardy 20, Grimes 15. I just thought the minutes were handed out very well last night. I thought all of the players that should have played did play. The only thing that shocked me was Maxey subbing in that early, but it ended up being good. You know, Maxey contributed well, 3 points, 4 rebounds, hit the three. So props to Jason Kidd, the whole Mavs coaching staff on that. That's something to really look out for when you're playing a team like the Phoenix Suns tomorrow night, Saturday. And you see, okay, is Jason Kidd going to stick with playing this many players? How is he going to spread out the minutes and everything like that? But for the season opener, I thought he did a great job. And that's something that you go into playoff time, typically most teams have that 8 to 9 man rotation. Maybe the Dallas Mavericks have a 9 to 10 man rotation. With how stacked this team is, I wouldn't be shocked. If guys are performing on a good level, we could see 10 players in a playoff rotation. So again, awesome to see from the coaching staff last night. Was genuinely impressed with how they handled everything last night, especially with the slow start. I thought what really stood out about Kidd is he saw a few sloppy plays, and immediately, once the Mavs got possession back, called an immediate timeout. Jason Kidd, since he arrived in Dallas as the head coach, has severely improved his coaching skills. And I mean that in a great way. I've been very impressed with Kidd, I would say, since last year, honestly. Not even last year, in the playoff run as well. I was impressed with him. I think Kidd just needed the right roster, and I think he finally has that, and it's shown. Another cool thing that we've seen is that Kidd, and shout out to Iztalk on X, who has shown a lot of plays that the Mavs ran last night. A cool thing that Kidd has done, and the coaching staff, they've implemented a lot of plays, a lot of pin downs, a lot of flares for Klay Thompson. And it's extremely beneficial. There's no reason why they shouldn't have, but they did, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. So that's been really cool to see. Guys, we're going to Phoenix tomorrow. The Dallas Mavericks are going to Phoenix tomorrow to take on the Suns, a big matchup. The Phoenix Suns will be coming off a back-to-back. They are playing the Los Angeles Lakers tonight. The Dallas Mavericks will take on the Phoenix Suns at 10 p.m. Eastern Saturday night. That will be October 26th. Going to be a big matchup. And it's a rivalry game. I personally, a lot of older MFFLs like to refer to the Houston Rockets, or mainly the San Antonio Spurs, as the main Mavericks rival. And I believe that was the case 10 years ago. But now I do think when you look at rivalries, the Phoenix Suns, I mean, that 2022-23 playoff run caused a huge rivalry. 2021-22 playoff run caused a huge rivalry. And then going into the next season after the Kyrie trade, there was a matchup, and Luka had a layup go in and out at the end of the game, and the Mavs lost by 2, and we saw a little altercation between Luka and Booker. So that's a rivalry in my book. This is going to be a really fun game. Both teams, I believe, severely improved this offseason. You know, the Mavs for obvious reasons, but you look at the Suns, they were able to bring in Tyus Jones, who I think is a massive addition for them. Ryan Dunn, a very good rookie for the Suns, who will be able to help them out as well when they aren't healthy some nights. So this matchup is going to be really interesting. I do believe Kidd sticks with the same starting lineup. You look at it, though, matchup-wise. It's going to be very interesting. I personally believe when looking at the matchups for Saturday night, I could see the Dallas Mavericks putting Kyrie on Tyus Jones, Luka Dončić on Bradley Beal, Klay Thompson on Devin Booker, PJ Washington on Kevin Durant. That's obvious. And Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively, obviously switching back and forth with Yusuf Nurkic. And I like those matchups. I really do. I the way that Klay played defense last night, obviously, it's the San Antonio Spurs we're talking about, but the way he played defense, I was very impressed. Now, obviously, the Suns have one of the best scoring teams in the NBA. They have some of the best scorers in the NBA on their team. So there's going to be times in the game where they go on runs. There's going to be times in the game where people are going to be pointing the finger at Luka, Kyrie, and Klay because their matchups are going to be scoring on them. But I do think overall they're going to do a very good job. It's going to be interesting to see. I wouldn't quote myself on that starting lineup matchups, but I could envision that happening. I think it will all be determined on who Luka Dončić guards. I do see Luka either guarding Beal or Booker, though. Just size-wise, I think it benefits him more. Tyus, someone who's more of a smaller point guard. I think that we see Luka not guarding him too much. I think that's more of a Irving and Hardy matchup. But I am excited to see how PJ Washington does on Kevin Durant. That's going to be very fun to see. And we saw from Dereck Lively in that Christmas game last year against the Suns. Dominated the Suns. So that's going to be fun to see too. I love watching Dereck Lively play against the Phoenix Suns. Did a great job against them last year. So that's going to be cool to see. And then I think when you look at depth versus the Suns' depth, the Mavs dominate them. So if the bench is performing at a very good rate, I expect this to be a win. I already expect this to be a win regardless, just because of a few factors. I do think the Dallas Mavericks are a better team. But at the same time, the Suns are also coming off a back-to-back. So I think that's another factor of why the Mavs might have the upper hand in this matchup. Guys, very excited about this Dallas Mavericks season. The Mavs are off to a great start, 1-0, tied for the first seed in the West. So we can make all jokes about that as well. But stay tuned, guys. Episodes for all games this year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. This shirt, by the way, Pure Heat. Comment if you guys are trying to cop this shirt. Be sure to stay tuned in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Subscribe to the MFFL Nation Podcast. Go hit the follow button on X at Nation MFFL. Go hit the follow on Instagram at Nation MFFL as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and have a great Friday.